welcome to Patty's Aquatics. Now, in this video, I'm going to be continuing my rescaping of the tanks in my fish room. Now, if you saw my last video, it was this one where I changed this tank over to a dirty tank and added angelfish, and we said goodbye to my shell dwellers, the Neolamprogallus quadopunctatus. And I explained in that one, this tank is next, and that's where we're going at today. Now, this tank houses my red dragon guppies, and we're going to be saying goodbye to those. I have a swap meet in a couple weeks, so I'm going to be taking them out, putting them in a container, a little tote, with some air and a heater. I'm going to let them sit in there until I bag them up to ready to sell them. In the meantime, I've got plans for this tank. Now, before we get to that, let's get the fish out into here. I want to pull all the plants out, and then I'll kind of explain what I'm up to. So I got all the fish out and the substrate and the plants. So we got a bare tank with a little bit of dirt water at the bottom, which is perfect for seeding the new tank. Now, what am I putting in here? I'm not going to quite get to that, but what I am doing is that this is not going to be a dirted tank. It was my initial plan to make this a dirted tank, but then I came across something else I wanted to put in it, and it would require it not to be a dirted tank because this little species likes to dig in the substrate a little bit. So what I'm going to do is scape this with a bunch of sand and rocks. Then after I get this scaped up, I'll show you what I'm going to put in here. Okay, so I got it scaped. As you can see, I've kind of got the slope effect of the sand going up. I kind of wanted that. I wanted it to go higher with it, but I felt like it would take too much of my tank away, which I didn't want. And then added a bunch of rocks, some sticks that I found at the beach. Now you may notice there are no plants in the tank. That's for a reason. What I'm putting in here are major plant eaters, and it'd be pointless. But since I do no filter systems here in my basement fish room, I do plan on incorporating floating plants because that is a must for me. So I will add more of those eventually. But now to what I'm going to put in here. Let's take a closer look at where I got them. What I got were crayfish from a local river. It's a rusty crayfish is what it's called. I believe it's an invasive species. If you go back and watch my feeding video for my Fahaka puffer, this is the exact same crayfish that I got. I went back to that river and collected a bunch. So I thought I want to make a tank of them. So I got probably about 10 or 11 of them of different sizes, about 3 bigger ones and a bunch of small ones. So I'll add them to the tank. All right, so I got them all added. I don't know, I'm kind of excited for this. This is basically going to be a native tank for me then. I would like to incorporate some other native fish. Oh, look at that. There's a couple baby guppies that made it over the transfer. They must have survived in the little bit of substrate water that was in there. Interesting. Anyway, I would like to add some native fish to this. In the river, when I was trying to get these, there was a bunch of small minnowy type fish. I don't know exactly what they were, but I'd like to go back and try to get some of those to add to this tank to make it a actual native tank. So there'll be no heater in this tank, just some air I'll put in here. And then we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm going to add some floating plants yet. And then when this fully clears up in like a day or so, I'll give you some more footage. Well, this is 1 week later. Now, I put some food in there for him to eat, and this is, strangely enough, the only creature I own that eats the string algae that pops up in my tanks once in a while. I came across it accidentally. I threw a little bit in there, and they wound up eating it, so I'm like, why not? So I threw some in there so you guys can see them eat and come out. And I also threw some flake food in there, too. Now they all have kind of like notched out their own little areas and dug out their own little pits where they go, and that's the big reason why I can't have a dirty tank with this one, because I can't have plants, but two, they dig in the substrate so much. So I found these creatures to be pretty interesting so far. Well, I hope you liked that video. I enjoy trying to incorporate some native fish into my tanks down here. Like I said, it stopped me from being able to make a whole thirded tank, but I like to see how this goes. I've heard that they're notorious escape artists, so I got to try to make sure I keep it a little buttoned up more atop and make sure my air hose doesn't go down too far that they can latch onto and climb out. Otherwise, I think I'll be okay. Like I said, I'm excited for it. I know they're very aggressive and territorial, and I have probably about 10 of them in here. So I put a lot of rocks and little hiding spots in there for them to kind of find their own little home. So we'll see how it goes. And like I said, if I wind up trying to find some native fish to put in here, I'll hit you up with another video for that one. I have a few ideas for maybe trying to trap them besides just net them. But if you like this kind of content, please consider going to my channel and hitting that subscribe button. And if you do, make sure you hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss any of my upcoming projects. That being said, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.